Hi, welcome to the Scorpio new moon astrological, and we're going to do some tarot reading. The Scorpio new moon is going to be exact at 20 degrees Scorpio on November 13th, which will be very, very early Monday morning. For some of you, it's going to be later in the afternoon. Those of you who are over the bond, it's going to be in the afternoon. But it will be exact at 2:26 a.m. Mountain Time. So that's 4:26 a.m. Eastern and 1:26 a.m. Pacific. For like Hawaii, I don't remember if Hawaii is like 5 hours behind this. I don't remember what Hawaii is. Anyways, you guys can find it. Hi, I hope everybody's doing well. The energy has been really should I do it optimistically or should I do it realistically? Which one? Virgo sun or Sagittarius moon? Which one do you guys want this time? Um it's been a doozy. It's been a doozy. It's been really interesting. I like what it's trying to tell us. I know that that sounds weird because things are really heavy and things are really deep. We're deep in Scorpio season, you guys. And, Scorpio season, we're going to talk about the Scorpio archetype here for a second, as we get into, just before we start looking at the new moon stuff. I want to talk about the Scorpio archetype because, you know, there's a reason why Scorpio is the way they are, and the depths that they go through. They the Scorpio archetype is bringing spirit into matter because they want to feel, the deepest and the most powerful feelings that like a human can feel, right? That's what, like, the Scorpio training, like that's what they came in for, right? And it's about excuse me, it's about them. It's about them being an individual. It's about them recognizing that deepness of who they are and being able to feel all of those feelings isn't a bad thing. It's about, transcending that shame of feeling heavy, feeling deep, right? And I think that a lot of us can relate to that in so many ways, even if we're not a Scorpio sun or Scorpio moon or Scorpio rising. I think that a lot of us can feel, we can resonate, we can relate to feeling shame at some point in our life about how we felt about something. And speaking of, so my shamanic astrology handbook, I love this thing. And I know that some astrologers would just like, can't believe that's just not real. That's not real stuff. I tell everybody that I'm not going to be your typical astrologer. Like, I'm never going to be your typical astrologer. I'm not the astrologer that that researches like the mundane things that are happening in the world. I'm not the astrologer that gets really technical. I'm not that astrologer. Do I know it? Yeah, I know the information. I just, I know my calling is different. I know my path is different. So we go shamanic, right? And this book is so incredible. And I want to read a part to you guys because this is going to speak a lot to the energy of what this new moon is going to be doing for us. This is the Scorpio part of the Shamanic Handbook. The Scorpio path within the context of matrilineal traditions perceived the feminine principle as the active force, sometimes known as Shakti, with healthy connection to will, for the purpose of learning how to command the elements and all of the organic mysteries in ways that resulted in personal empowerment. Okay? When patriarchy suppressed the Scorpio teachings from women, a masculine version of priest and wizard hierarchy emerged. Even though the ancient tantric teachings were originally feminine mysteries, the patriarchy focused on disempowering women, and the Scorpio version of the feminine mysteries by preventing them from knowing they were the ones who had original mastery in these realms. This eventually led to the perception as Scorpio being secretive. Scorpios are not innately secretive. They're only secretive because they've been shown in their lives that they cannot trust other people with their feelings. Because this world does not allow that. This world does not allow that kind of depth. Right? So when we go through Scorpio season and we go through this incredibly transformative time in our lives, imagine being a Scorpio sun, a Scorpio Mars, a Scorpio Venus, even. I know that's a Scorpio Mercury, a Scorpio rising, a Scorpio moon. Imagine they feel this all year round, right? So Scorpio season, that's just a little bit, it's amazing what when you stop and you think about like what is actually like transpiring during the season, and you think about it and you think about the archetype and you think about, everything that we're going through and what we're doing, it really, all of the astrology lines up to how things are playing out in our own little personal universes and in the entire world as well. So yes, we're going to get into the Scorpio moon. If you would like to get your astrology for the month, would love to have you on our Patreon, Love and Science Patreon. All of the rising sign astrology comes out at the beginning of the month with my own personal lens, coming from my own personal lens, and what is actually happening. And then I also do a mid-month tarot reading. I'm actually getting ready this weekend to get those tarot readings started and going, because I do want to get them published next week. And who knows what the energy is going to do. Honestly, like that's really where I am too, you guys. So I would love to have you guys visit us on Patreon. And my readings are open. I have my calendar open in November. I've got astrology readings available, appointments available, tarot. You can get recorded, you can get live. If it shows live and you can't find a recorded version, email me and ask me if it can be recorded too. I'm flexible, I don't care. So yeah, and I have my 6-month reading available. I should probably mention that as well. And so all that information in the description box. We would love to have you. Let's take a look at this, you guys. Scorpio new moon. Like I said, Scorpio new moon happening November 13th, Monday morning, super early before we even wake up. You may be feeling this on Sunday. You may be feeling the buildup on Sunday. Mercury ingresses Sagittarius tomorrow. I'm doing this on the 9th, this video on the 9th. Mercury ingresses Sagittarius on the 10th and will immediately square Saturn in Pisces. And we will still be feeling that through the new moon. And Saturn is still not completely, like, he's moving forward, but he's not, it's still a little slower than usual, but he is moving forward now. That stationing of Saturn was really hard on a lot of people, a lot. So like one of the things is like not shaming yourself through this new moon. I feel like this new moon is going to be very much like a full moon. I really feel like, and honestly, I think I've said that for the last several years with Uranus opposing the Scorpio new moon. I think the Scorpio new moon has always felt like a full moon for the last several years. There might have been one or two, maybe one year that wasn't. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. But from what I remember. And so we have the new moon. It's a Virgo rising chart, 29-degree Virgo rising chart, first of all. And we have the new moon here in the second house opposing Uranus. And then the moon is 20 degrees and 43 seconds. So technically 21 degrees Scorpio. if we're getting really technical. And I feel like in a lot of ways, when we think about the, the way that Scorpio, really trusting oneself and becoming an individual and recognizing that their feelings are not something to be ashamed of, and also not really being consumed and obsessed by relationships and other parties and all of that. And really allowing themselves to come into their own. Scorpios are incredibly powerful individuals, incredibly powerful individuals. I know several Scorpio risings. I have raised 2 Scorpio moons. I am very familiar with that Scorpio energy, and there is no prying anything out of those Scorpios. If they don't want to give you that information, they're going to hold on to it tightly. But in the quiet and the isolation, they'll feel it. They'll feel it all. And I feel like with this new moon opposite Uranus, this is really going to be a lot about not getting swept up in your own impulsiveness, your own impulsive nature. And we have, Mars we went through the Mars Cazimi. That was like, what day was the Mars Cazimi? Oh, the Mars Cazimi, is actually Mars Cazimi is on the 17th. So just a few days, right? Just a few days after the new moon, we're going to have the Mars Cazimi. And right now, Mars is combust during this new moon. And that means that Mars is very close. It's in the degrees of combustion with conjoining to the sun. Mars in the sun exalts, right? Mars in the sun is like, yes, I'm here, and I'm, it's like it's having its lights shine, the shining upon them, right? And feeling the strength of Mars and Scorpio. And Mars and Scorpio can be quite aggressive sometimes. And I would love to be able to put a positive spin on that Mars and Scorpio. Some of you may feel extremely sexy during that time, or, when Mars is at his Cazimi, which will be on the 17th, but we have the Scorpio new moon first. And Mars isn't quite at that Cazimi point. Mars is still only 2 degrees away from the sun, and so he is in combustion. And Mars doesn't do very well in combustion. When Mars moves past the Cazimi, we'll be in combustion for a while, actually. But with Mars in combustion, this is where that aggressiveness would come out. And this is where that not wanting to take responsibility for one's actions would come out. And this would be, being extremely careless. And with the Uranus, both, just a degree opposition from Uranus in Taurus. And we also have, Mars trine Neptune by 3 degrees, a very loose trine. And we also have Mercury in Sagittarius sextile Venus in Libra. Mercury in Sagittarius is in detriment. Venus is right at home in Libra. Feels really good there. But Mercury also has this squared affliction still to Saturn. So Mercury's not really feeling so good in Sagittarius, where usually Mercury in Sagittarius, we're extremely intuitive. Like Mercury in Sagittarius, I have a friend whose Mercury is in Sagittarius. She's a 3rd house Mercury in Sagittarius. Friggin' amazing. This girl is she speaks to the energies and spirit and the earth, and she speaks to everything so eloquently and just so, and it's not of the 3rd dimensional reality worlds that we all, we're all sharing this universal collective consciousness, I guess. We're all sharing this 3rd dimensional earth world. And we all have our little universes. And in her universe, she is really good at discovering things. And she's really good at bringing the esoteric into the real world, into her reality, and making all of like the really gunky real world crappy things that we have to do. She makes magic out of it. And that's a gift. Yeah, I know Mercury is in detriment, but man, when a planet is in detriment, because Mercury's right at home in Gemini, right? So Mercury's in detriment in Sagittarius, and when a planet's in detriment, it just means it's not at home. Mercury's at home in Gemini. Mercury at home is a huge pain in the ass sometimes. I have 2 Mercury Gemini suns. Leave me alone. I know. They're great. They're wonderful. They're really creative, man. They have big minds, and I can't wait to see what they build in this world. They're both Pluto and Sagittarius generation, and I can't wait until to see what they build in this world, because it's going to be really cool. But we're not talking about Gemini. We're talking about Sagittarius right now. Sorry, Gemini. Mercury and Sagittarius may not fit in with the societal norms, but they really can create magic. However, it has to feel right. It has to feel good. It has to feel unrestricted. And Saturn in Pisces is kind of being a bitch. And so Mercury in detriment, afflicted by Saturn, and just really not feeling so good about things, is sextile Venus, right, by a degree. So close sextile to Venus. And a sextile is where 2 planets are working together. I love sextiles, actually. Like I love sextiles because I think that sextiles are the greatest. I think that if you can cooperate with, if 2 things can find cooperation in something, that is like, let's work this out together. Let's figure this out together. Let's make it a rounded, let's round this out together. It's a good relationship. I think that's why I like it. I'm all about relationships. Mercury in detriment, sextile Venus, who's right at home. And, Venus just came out of Virgo, and Venus is feeling really good. What's funny is this is actually, Venus will be conjunct my ascendant on the day of the Scorpio new moon. Isn't that hilarious? I just realized that. Thank you for being a part of my world. Mercury sextile Venus. I honestly, I feel like Venus is going to be helping Mercury out here. And I think this is where the talks will come. I think that this is where, there will be some misunderstandings, but I feel like if you are with people that understand, will listen, right? Will listen and understand you. They want to work things out, right? The people that want to work things out are going to treat you differently. The people who want to be in your life and they want to support you and they want to see you safe and they want to see you grounded are going to treat you differently. So this new moon is literally going to show you guys the consequences of decisions that you've made to hold yourself in restrictive places. And that doesn't have to be a bad thing. It might be uncomfortable. Things have been really uncomfortable in the last few years, but it's not a bad thing to become aware of how we have restricted ourselves. And sometimes we got to dig real deep to find that. I wrote down here, you may have been dealing with someone failing to do what they promised to do, or you may be failing to do what you promised to do, and that may be shown. And whatever is revealed under this Mercury, or I'm sorry, under this Scorpio new moon, whatever is revealed is asking to be changed. That's the challenge, right? The opposition is about relationships. And usually what's going on inside of us, which is really what this is, right? This is like, how do we really feel about ourselves? Are we in places where we can grow? Are we in places where we can expand our wings, expand ourselves and fly? Or have we found ourselves backed into a corner? Have we found ourselves in a situation that doesn't necessarily feel good anymore, that maybe you've even outgrown, and there's nothing really bad about it, but you've just outgrown it? And that's also okay, right? So things need to change. Something in your life, and especially wherever the Scorpio new moon and Mars is showing up for you, wherever Scorpio is in your chart, opposite wherever Taurus is also in your chart, you know, the big thing is when we have that opposition, the challenge is recognizing how the changes are happening inside of us, how they're manifesting outside of us, right? It's just like the first and seventh house axis. Whatever goes on in our self is how our relationships are going to be perceived and looked by us and by other people, to be quite honest. Whatever's going on in ourselves, if there's tons of insecurity going on inside of ourselves, and we're constantly trying to mask that by the way that we look all the time, and then one day you just have this like epiphany because you've been so careless with your own restriction, you have this epiphany that you just need to break free. This is that kind of new moon. And it may, I mean, I feel like it's going to be uncomfortable, you guys. Like, I really wish that I could really give a super big, fat, big, great spin on everything that, you know, like I said, do you want my Sagittarius optimism, or do you want my Virgo reality? Or can I just mesh both together and be my Libra rising? Seriously. The universe had jokes when they made me. You know, this is about not compromising your own integrity, and and not asking yourself, like, why are you asking yourself to compromise and sacrifice things in your life when they're not appreciated, right? When the other party when the other party doesn't appreciate things. Or why are you sacrificing yourself for someone or something or a situation or an experience or whatever this is, a person who's not willing to sacrifice back? That's, you know, and sometimes you're the one that's not willing to sacrifice back. And you got to be honest about that too, because it's also about taking responsibility. And that has been a running theme, my friends. I have had conversations that have transpired, you know, like recent conversations, and just people in general, I feel like for a while just do not want to take accountability for hurting other people's feelings, harming other people. You know, what is that? Have we really lost so much compassion and empathy for humanity? I mean, I know what's going on in the world. I don't really talk about it much. I have my personal beliefs, and I advocate and do what I can for my personal beliefs. And I will say that nobody should be murdered and killed. Nobody. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what Middle Eastern state you're from, country you're from. That's how I feel. I don't care what your religion is. I don't think anybody should be murdered. Right? But this is about allowing ourselves to look at our own personal worlds, because that's where the change starts, you guys. That's where the transformation starts. And that's what Scorpio season is all about. It's about the transformation. We have the Mars Cazimi. I'm sorry, I just wanted to look and make sure that there were there's a lot happening, you guys. November, there's a lot. That's why I said I have talked about all of that in Astrology on Patreon for each of the rising signs. And I've talked about the entire month of astrology for November. I'll be doing the same thing for December. But that's what this is. And I really feel like, the way that things are going to be worked out, right, with the sextile between Mercury and Venus, it's not going to look normal. It's not going to look like society standard normal, right? It's not. And, the interesting thing, like I always tell people this, the relationships that you have in your life and the contracts that you, whether they're spoken or unspoken contracts, because in relationships you have contracts with every single relationship that you have in your life, right? And one thing that I recently recognized about myself is, or just in general, is that I want the relationships in my life to no longer be contractual, and I just want them to be unconditional. So I must strive. I must dig deep and strive for that unconditional nature. And whenever I see myself not being unconditional, I catch myself, right? Done it already a couple times today. Because of my, I get cranky sometimes. There's there's ego games that go on inside of a human brain, and you get cranky sometimes and you project it on the people that you love the most, right? And that's going to come out really loud during the Scorpio new moon. And with those relationships and those contracts, they come from the eighth house. There's a lot of eighth house energy, seventh house and eighth house energy. Or seventh house energy actually is where the contract starts. And then the eighth house is where you deepen that contract and you make boundaries with each other, and you have those spoken and unspoken things that you do all the time. And, that's where a lot of the communication has to happen, is when you're establishing those contracts with each other. And if you're not individualized within that, right? And that's in a big, Libra, or Venus is in Libra, and Venus is at home in Libra. We love that after being in Virgo for so long. Whew. Virgo, Venus is in fall in Virgo. It's difficult. It's very nitpicky, right? And then we get to Venus in Libra, and Venus in Libra is lovely, lovely. But sometimes they can harmonize and peacemake until their sense of self is completely gone. They have sacrificed, and they have been the bigger person, and they have been the peacemaker, and they have been the negotiator, and they have been the mediator in the relationship for so long that they don't even know what they want anymore, and have to find themselves all over again. And so there's this meeting of some fantasy right there, actually, if we think about it, because Mercury in Sagittarius is all that, intuition, and it's the logical intuition. It's not the, we have two brains, you guys. We have that gut intuition down here, and everybody tells you, listen to the feeling, listen to the feeling. But we have logical intuition too. The all-knowing, clairsentience, right? That feeling. What's all-knowing? Claircognizant? Is that all-knowing? I think it's claircognizant. That's what Mercury in Sagittarius is. They tap into other worlds. And people who think that we're just in a third dimensional reality, when they meet a Sagittarius and a Mercury in Sagittarius, they're blown away. They're like, I have no idea what you're talking about right now. So it's really a time to be able to look at what it is that is inside of you that wants to break free. And then it's a time for you to work it out. Become aware of it, work it out. For some of you, it's going to be such an inner tantrum journey, I guess, like such an emotional inner turmoil, moving your energy through here. Like Scorpio is stagnant water, so we have to sometimes have a triggered reaction to get those emotions moving around some, and giving them a safe place, and giving them the space and time to be able to figure out their feelings. And, you know, the closer Mars trines Neptune, I don't know how much Mars trine Neptune is actually going to be a big deal in this whole new moon, but people just, you just might be a little more tired. There's a lot of water going on right now. You know, there's a lot of water going on, and we're going to be switching from water to fire real fast. So, and it's like, it's almost going to be like we were flooded and then it's a drought. That's kind of how I feel like things are going to start working through. But, you know, you may just, it just may come through as just being really tired and really exhausted. And, you know, no matter what happens, I think during this new moon, no matter what happens for you, I think showing up for yourself is just a huge, gigantic theme. And taking responsibility for the mistakes that you make. You know, we can shame ourselves until the day is long and whatever, right? We can shame ourselves into feeling non-existent, but what good is that? How's that going to help just any situations, right? There's no good in that. So okay, let me get some cards here. We're going to see a collective surrender. Every time I do an astrology reading, like days later, I think about something that I missed talking about, that I really wanted to talk about, I missed talking about. So I hope that I didn't do that. I mean, we are still like loosely, the nodes are still loosely square this 28-degree Pluto. So that too, you know, like the whole world is really going through a transformation in a big way right now. And yeah, it's a big deal. It's a really big deal when, you know, with Venus in Libra, she's going to oppose Chiron during this time. You know, she's going to conjunct the South Node during this time. There's going to be some places where we're really having to ask ourselves, like I tell everybody, if your relationship lasted this year, if you got through relationships this year, man, you guys are good. You're doing good. You're ahead of the game. That means that you have done the work and you have talked things through and you have communicated and you're still working through that, right? Okay. We're going to get a surrender card. Let's see what it is that oh, wait, hold on. What am I doing? All right. What am I doing? Here we go. Surrender. Power of surrender. Let's see what it is that collectively we all sort of need to hear about surrendering. You guys, I do think something is going to happen like in the political world with what's going on. I don't really know that I'm going to talk about it, just because like emotions are high, tensions are high. I'm not stirring the pot. I'm not going to stir the pot with anybody. Like that's just, I don't do that. But I will say that this surrender card is probably very, you know, it's very loud, right? It's very loud. Surrender to prayer. Give yourself over completely to prayer. When you pray from your heart, you will be heard through the universe, and answers and support will arrive. So surrender to prayer. You know, what's really interesting is Scorpio is naturally associated with the 8th house, and the 8th house is ruled by Pluto and Mars. And so Scorpio is naturally associated with the 8th house. And so oftentimes with Scorpio, it's not, you know, it's about learning how to receive love and support as well, and learning how to trust yourself and learning how to trust the universe. And that's hard to do for Scorpios because, again, that Scorpio energy, and not just Scorpio energy, it's hard to do for a lot of us. If you have 8th house placements learning how to receive is a really big lesson for you. Learning how to be open to receive, learning how to not be angry all the time, learning how to get through that life and death rebirth process and transform, like that's a big deal, right? And so I often think of Scorpio as, you know, someone who, you know, when they learn their own individualism and they learn their own magic, they learn how to bring those, you know, bring that spirit inside of them and create out here in the material world, and feel it all deeply, you know, not change the depth of the feeling when they do that. If a Scorpio can do that, there's nothing they can't do, you know. So oftentimes, and also with that, in that nothing they can't do, they can also be open to receive because they trust themselves. And even Scorpios don't trust themselves just as much as they don't trust other people. It's just the way it is, I guess. Okay. Oh, wow. So we have all major arcana just came out. This is definitely a new journey. I feel like there is a new exploration that's happening. And I also feel like it's, you have to look at this in a different perspective. I feel like you have to have faith. Whatever is transpiring, surrendering to prayer, there's a lot about faith down on this table. There's a lot about faith. It's very 12th house energy, but it's also very 8th house energy. But I have 12th house energy here. I have first house energy here, and I have 6th house energy here. That seems very interesting to me. And surrendering to prayer, you know, when we are caught off guard. You know, there's a lot of people that hold so much anger and bitterness and resentment inside of them that they believe that faith is that it's not real, right? And maybe it's not real in the sense of like feeling it, right? Because with faith, you can't see it, you can't feel it. It's very 12th house. It's not in the material world. And so we have the Fool, we have the Hermit, and we have the Hanged Man. And in each one of these, there's an illumination. We have the Fool illuminating the zodiac here. We have the Hermit holding a lantern and illuminating his path. And then we have the Hanged Man illuminating his crown so that he can be enlightened, right? There's clarity, and it's very much, there's clarity through the darkness of it, right? It's a lot of dark colors behind it. So there's very much like a clarity through the darkness, like sifting through the darkness. The Fool is about having faith, starting something new, a new chapter, a new path, a new, you know, whatever it is, whatever you were transmuting, right? The Fool is very much like that transmutation energy of, I have been through the muck and now I'm ready to start all over again. Like it's that Phoenix rising from the ashes, right? Scorpio, I hate to use that term, but it's true. The Hermit is taking that journey by themselves and only doing it with a lamp. Very Virgo, very Hermit. Virgo very much is represented in the Chiron archetype as well. And that healing, and a lot of the healing is transcendental, right? Like it's transformative, and it's the, you know, the more you step into your power, the more the path is lit up for you. But you got to have faith in the dark, right? That Fool, you got to have faith in the dark. And then the Hanged Man, and seeing in a different perspective. And this might be because what's happening doesn't make sense. This Hanged Man very much is, you know, like the aftermath of something that Uranus, what would happen with Uranus. The change, that the unexpected, whew, oh wow, I did not expect this one. This is kind of a side blinder, right? The Hanged Man is like, I got to look at this in a different perspective. Because if I sit here and I look at it from a point of view of the negative, and that I'm a victim, and that nothing is ever going to be good again, nothing's ever going to go well, and blah 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 blah, and I don't have any faith, and I don't have this, and I don't have that, I'm the only one that's suffering, and I'm also perpetuating that sadness, right? The Fool, I'm feeding it, feeding the sadness. So let's clarify the Fool. The Hermit. Ooh, all right. Oh, the Lovers is at the bottom of the deck. So, disclaimer, I do not look at the Lovers as a relationship unless it absolutely pertains to you as a relationship. That's fine. Please do not be delusional about the twin flame stuff, please. I understand. But the Lovers is about becoming whole yourself first. And you don't have to be completely whole to be in a relationship, but it's really nice to know yourself before you decide to get into it's really, it's, you know, it's like, it's really nice to be able to present yourself as authentic and genuine, right? And the masculine and the feminine inside of us, when it comes together, it really creates this like potent ray, you know, of energy that goes out into the world. And you not only find a partner that matches you, but you find your soul family too. So if you have been finding a lot of soul family lately, I guarantee you your partner's not that far behind, or vice versa. If you found your divine partner, then your soul family's not far behind, but it starts with you. And that's what I tell everybody when the Lovers comes out. A lot of people don't like that I don't read the Lovers as a relationship. Seven of Pentacles on the Fool. So trusting yourself and trusting this new journey that you're on, that you have been planting those seeds. And see, here's the thing, is the Scorpio new moon is not providing patience for us in any way, shape, or form. You will not find patience. You will probably not find a lot of compassion and empathy either, unless you've already cultivated that within yourself, or somebody else has already cultivated that. You're not going to find it in just like in your everyday life. But that Seven of Pentacles on the Fool is very much about you trusting the process, and very much about you having faith in what you've already begun. You have already begun something, right? You've already begun something, and that something, you have to have faith that it will eventually come through. But it's also about taking responsibility, right? It's taking responsibility through all of this. And in taking responsibility, we have the Four of Cups with the Hermit. You also have to be willing to trust the universe on the journey, you know, because, you know, Virgo and Scorpio are very much the same in that they will not share their feelings easily. And they're also, you know, like everybody sees Scorpio as like this kinky, sexy mess, and nobody sees Virgo that way. But have you met a Virgo? Especially a Virgo Mars? You met one? Four of Cups on the Hermit. People are like, why are you talking about Virgo? The Hermit's here. Sometimes, you guys, sometimes you have to be willing to find yourself in places where there's not a lot of clarity first, and trust that what you're being open and receptive for will come to you, right? That Four of Cups. So it's interesting because in this deck, he's not paying attention to what he already has down here, like other typical decks, right? So he's not paying attention to the Three of Cups down here. He's literally paying attention to what he wants up here in the sky, right? The cup that's coming straight out of the sky. That's what he wants. That's what he's paying attention to. And that's the Page of Cups on the Hanged Man. And I need you to see that cup in a different way. Because this Page of Cups is desire, want, need. Gimme, 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 gimme. You know, that. And with that Page of Cups on the Hanged Man, it's time to see what you desire in a different way. It's time to be open and have faith that the universe is going to be there for you. I know that there's a lot of, it's not easy. It's just not easy to have faith. And it's not easy to have faith in a world that tells you every day and shows you every day that you shouldn't have faith. It's not easy. But it's possible. It's not impossible. Absolutely possible. And it's possible even in the worst of circumstances. It's possible. And that's what I feel like this new moon is teaching us. It's not about just what we want and what we desire. It's about the energy of it. If you want and desire a relationship like this, it's time for you to manifest a relationship like that, right? Or manifest it in a way that will be exactly perfect for you. And how do you do that? How do you do that? You make this cup in the sky become the Ace of Cups instead of the Page of Cups. That's the perspective change. I know the Ace of Cups didn't come out, and I don't really care, but we're still going to have that conversation. You make that Ace of Cups coming out of that, this fourth cup here is the Ace. It's not the Page. The Page is lack. It's a mind of lack. I need a partner because I want to be loved so much. I want, and I told somebody this today too. I used to be afraid that I would never be fully loved my whole life. I used to be afraid that I would never be fully loved. And even when I was little, I would wish on stars that I could just be happy and be loved. And that's all I wanted in life. That's really all I wanted in life. And so many times life told me and showed me to not believe that that was possible. I don't know how many, I'm sure that's happened to you guys as well. I know I'm not alone in that. And then I decided to love myself. And I decided to figure out what that looks like. And I did it regardless of how other people saw me and how other people wanted to perceive me. And that's hard to do. That's really hard to do, especially, if you are like a public figure, sometimes it's hard to do because I consider myself somewhat, I'm not as much of a public figure as I used to be. Sometimes I thank God for that, but I still put myself out on the line, out on the table a lot, right? So having everybody else perceive me, I have to be able to see myself first and to perceive myself first as who I know I am, period. And then everybody else's perceptions, as long as I'm not harming them, I don't give a fuck, right? And that is how you start to manifest this relationship, right? If that's what this is about for you, manifesting a relationship, getting out of one relationship and getting into another one, whatever it is, whatever this is about for you, it's wholeness. It's not even relationship, it's wholeness, right? There's you're manifesting wholeness. And part of that is about getting rest. Like I said, that Mars trine Neptune may make us really tired with the Four of Swords. So make sure that you're getting the rest that you need in order to be able to have that energy, right? With the Four of Swords, we're resting, but we're also meditating and we're healing. And, we're also like, a lot of times with the Four of Swords, I see it as the Hanged Man. This is where we're finding clarity. It's the minor arcana, right, of the Hanged Man, finding clarity and, really just allowing ourselves to see things from a different perspective so that we can heal our own nervous system even and not be in fight or flight mode all the time. All right, my loves. Thanks for hanging out with me. For those of you who are still here, thanks for hanging out with me. And would love to see some of you in readings this month, and take really good care of yourselves during this new moon. And I'll see you later. Bye.